This is my K-drama roundup for October of 2023, and I want to talk about the K-dramas that I've completed so far this month, the K-dramas that I'm currently watching, new K-dramas that are coming out, and some of the K-dramas that have actually dropped, and all sorts of other good stuff. Let's go. Hi, I'm Monique. I am the host of Off by Purple Heart podcast, where I talk to you about K-dramas, C-dramas, BTS, and anything else I want to talk about. In today's episode, I want to talk about all the K-dramas that I've been watching, and some of the good, some of the bad, I guess some of the uninspired, and more. So just to start off with completed K-dramas, I'm going to go with a really popular one right now, which is Destined with You. That just concluded. It was 16 episode run, and I have some thoughts about it. First and foremost, I have to give a lot of credit to Rowoon's acting in particular. He's turning out to be one of my favorite K-drama actors right now. I feel like he's extraordinarily expressive. His eyes tell so many stories, and I think the range that he was able to show in this drama probably will not be recognized, but it should be. He has incredible range. I am so sorry to hear about the K-pop group that he left. I think it's SF9, if I'm not mistaken. That's the group, but I think he is phenomenal, and I think I'm going to basically be automatically watching any new dramas that have him in it. And there is actually a K-drama that's coming out with Rowoon, I believe next month in November, as I'm filming this. But he was phenomenal. He is what has kept me going watching the show as well. Jo as well, she is phenomenal, the female lead. I honestly enjoyed her acting, and I think her biggest strength was that she played off of Rowoon really well. I think their chemistry definitely was a key component for this show being as popular as it is. But a lot of the writing unfortunately fell short, especially for her character, because I find the female lead in this program to have been almost insufferable with the amount of silliness that she demonstrated throughout the show. Basically, a lot of the show, she is consistently in danger, and I feel like the character did everything humanly possible to put herself in more precarious situations. I don't know what the hell the writers think they were doing, but ultimately what I got was this character didn't have any form of self-preservation, and unfortunately it made the story suffer, because a lot of the choices that she made were really illogical, but they made sense if you're looking at it at this perspective of what could make this scene that much more dramatic, what can rack it up the tension like tenfold. And it unfortunately cost her character some hits, because I found that I was consistently just shaking my head. There were so many stupid little things in the final episodes. You know, going into spoilers, Rowoon's character, the main lead, gets stabbed after a stalker basically followed them to his apartment. This is when this character is aware that her life is in danger. This stalker has made several attempts on her life already. She consistently goes out alone, not really notifying anyone. She always says, oh, you know, I have an Apple Watch, doesn't seem to really use it, and I have self-defense weapons, and doesn't really use them, with the exception of the final episode, which I will talk about in a little bit. And she just consistently gets herself in such hairy situations that could have been prevented if she just used her brain cells. But I know they were doing this for dramatic attention. But I just don't like it when they write female characters like this, because I feel like they could have written her a lot more astute, a lot smarter, and still have elements of danger and tension and impact. And the story wouldn't have had to suffer for it. And I just feel like overall it was very messy. A lot of the plot holes that were not really tied up together very nicely. I feel like the script could have been tightened up a lot more. I feel the pacing would rack it up from really too quickly to not quickly enough. I feel the actual reveal of the curse was really anticlimactic. I believe we were given like almost a full episode of like flashback in episode 14, I think. And it wasn't really satisfying for all the hoopla that's going on in present day to find out in the past reincarnations like what actually happened, why these current characters are going through all the mishaps and all the trauma that they're going through. And it was just really unfortunate. I also didn't like the father character being redeemed in the end as well. I think he was a asshole throughout the entirety of the show, was so incredibly verbally abusive to his wife, and it was played off for laughs in the show. And then by simply him apologizing and him giving her a hug and showing up to one of her movie shoots with a coffee truck, everything was kind of swept under the rug, which really annoys me. I understand that a lot of this show was based around comedic elements, but there was nothing really funny about him or his interactions with his wife. And I was actually really happy when the character definitively said, I am divorcing you. I've had enough of this. You have put me through hell. I've been basically staying in this marriage for our son, and I'm gonna choose myself now. And her son was fully on board with it, which I really liked, that they were really close. But ultimately, it just really felt unsatisfying to watch that play out as well. And even with like the psycho gardener, you know, the ex-girlfriend not getting a clue, being revealed to be a bully, they pulled that right into the dynamics of the last episode when everything should be wrapping up and we're to basically enjoy the two leads coming together, having fought through everything to be together. And even at the work environment, there was so much focus on side characters that no one really cared about, and they would take up a huge amount of screen time, and they would just be annoying and constantly talking down to the female lead character, and she would still seek their approval and friendship. And there was little to no resolution with that as well, which is just mind-boggling to me. Her supervisor and his love story, the amount of focus that got, there was just too much going on at the same time that it wasn't really necessary. So overall, the show itself, but the chemistry between the two leads, in my humble opinion, saved it, and definitely Rowoon is the actor to be watching. He was phenomenal. Very long review of Destined with You. So the next completed K-drama that I saw was My Lovely Boxer. I have an earlier podcast episode of this K-drama as well. And unfortunately, this one I feel should have gotten a lot more attention. It definitely didn't, but it is absolutely worth the watch. For the final episode in particular as well, the tension between the two leads was really well played out. I feel like their chemistry was definitely fire. And even though there was an age gap, I was completely sold from it from episode 1. I was totally all in, and I was kind of saddened by how they actually came together. A lot of the story takes place with her and the final fight, and the character that they brought in to be her opponent, I thought her story was interesting. I feel like they could have probably focused on her a little bit more. And this is going into spoilers, but she ends up winning the fight, not the female lead, which is unfortunate. But I understand why the writers made that choice. And this K-drama was based off of a book as well. And I'm assuming the book plays out in the exact same way. But I was rooting for the female lead to win, but it was still a satisfying cinematic event, the final fight. It is very heart-pounding, and it goes for several rounds, and you genuinely felt like you were watching two heavyweight champions going in the ring and giving it their entire life into it. It was just really great to watch, really captivating stuff. I kind of wish that this show got 16 episodes versus 12. I feel like they packed in a lot into the final episode, and it got almost too convoluted. I wish they had given the story a little bit more time to breathe. The main lead, he ends up getting shot, and what it looks like, the gun was aiming right between his eyes, and somehow he comes out of this alive still, which is odd to me. Maybe the way I watched it wasn't the correct way. Maybe the bullet grazed like his temple or something, but the audience was led to believe that this was fatal, and that was supposed to be like a cliffhanger before the final act in the episode of the final episode. I don't know, But it was just really odd how that was staged with that shark that he was entangled with. There's other little nitpicks I have about the show. The second male lead, that character wasn't needed at all. I think that he was a massive distraction and he didn't really do much to move the story along. So I was actually kind of wishing they had focused more on the boxers that were the female lead's opponents versus him. He just wasn't necessary. Even with the female agent, I feel like she wasn't really needed as well as a side character. They really didn't need to focus on her. I don't know if that was just them playing into the actual book itself that it's based on, but she also, I feel like, took away time that could have been spent developing the relationship between the main leads as well. But overall, despite my criticisms, I think it was a phenomenal watch and it's very engaging and thrilling. And even with the spoilers, if you're watching this, I would say go watch it. It should have a lot more hype than it does. I hope it's kind of the show that will become a cult classic that people will go back to and watch, and it'll become a little bit more later on. So that's for completed dramas. As far as dramas I've dropped, I actually dropped My Lovely Liar. So I loved My Lovely Boxer, but I dropped My Lovely Liar, and I think I dropped it around episode 9 or 10. For some reason, I think that they dragged the show out too long, and there was something about it that just wasn't gelling for me in the later episodes. I had done a podcast episode about My Lovely Liar, and initially I was really enjoying it, but it just kind of lost my interest. And I do think that it having like a 16 episode order kind of hinders it. I think that show should have been 12 episodes because there's a lot of things that could have been tied up a lot sooner that I just end up not enjoying it. And there's just so many other shows that I had to and wanted to get to that I just end up dropping it. So if you're someone that's still watching My Lovely Liar and have any thoughts, let me know if I should pick it back up again. But to be honest, I really highly doubt that I will. And now going into my current watches. So first, I'm going to talk about The Worst of Evil. I actually have a podcast episode about The Worst of Evil as well. It's one of my more lower viewed and listened to episodes, but I'm telling you right now, The Worst of Evil is phenomenal. I enjoy the show as much as some of the writing choices infuriate me, and this is purely because the acting is there. The directing is actually pretty good. It's very cinematic. It is very well produced, and the acting is just top tier. The two leads are phenomenal, and they have amazing chemistry. I absolutely know that this show was never and would never be a BL, but the chemistry is so good, and I just think it would be such a fascinating story to have the backdrop of this extremely violent, gory gang set in the 90s of Korea, and then to have these two leads having to interact and have an undercover cop go in and deal with this mob boss and then fall in love while also having to carry out this undercover mission, and then his real feelings tangling in with, you know, him wanting to be promoted and wanting to take down this gang because they are responsible bringing in drugs into the population and bringing in contraband that is wildly dangerous and introducing like meth, and having that moral compass being conflicted with actually falling in love. I think that would be such an incredible story to unfold, but that's not what the show is. But I'm not taking away from the chemistry. Ji Chang-wook in particular, he's really, really, really good. And I think we are up to episode 7 of the show, and there's just some few things that I think are worth discussing. For one, I think the detectives that are handling this case are absolutely abysmally awful. I don't know how is it that they consistently make stupid mistakes, like consistently meeting with the undercover detective in broad daylight with like within a few meters of these gang members. He's trying to infiltrate this gang, and you're consistently throwing in wrenches and making his job extremely harder. So I think all the detectives in the precinct are consistently screwing up to the detriment of the entire case. And I don't know if this is just written this way intentionally because it's based in the 90s and technology isn't as advanced, so there's not as much finesse in how this undercover mission is progressing, but there's a lot of that. I feel like it's just really dumb mistakes that these cops are making, and it's almost like you want to root for the antagonist to win, because how could you be so stupid? But again, the chemistry, phenomenal. The action scenes are really good, and it is very gory and very bloody. The last episode I watched in particular, a guy is literally getting a glass shard sliced through his face, and you're seeing it rip and you're seeing the blood like gush out. So it is extremely violent, but it's so good. And there is a new character that has been introduced who I think is part Chinese, part Korean, and she has a lot of ties to like the male lead, and it seems like they're hinting at a romance, and the chemistry is there, and I think the character herself is really fascinating. I feel like she understands that there is a lot of shadiness going on, and I feel like the actress, with her eyes in particular, does such great acting. It's really subtle shifts in her facial expressions that that her antenna is going up, that she knows that something is off, and I'm just waiting for it to kind of blow up in everyone's face. But her introduction, I think, has made the show even better, and it makes me look forward to more. This is a show I really wish that wasn't 12 episodes. I think they could have gotten away with 16. In fact, I think they could have gone up to 20. That's how captivating it is, and I think it would have helped smooth out some of the bumps of like a lot of the bumbling mistakes that the undercover cops are making, because they need to progress the story along. That's my feeling, but I am enjoying the hell out of that show. Another show that has come out is Strong Girl Nam Soon. Now this is the prequel to, or not the prequel, it's a sequel to a much more famous K-drama, and I gotta be honest, this new sequel is not really hitting it for me. We're only 2 episodes in, so it might be too early to tell, but there's something about the tone of the show that I do not like. I've watched the predecessor of this show, and it was slapstick comedy as well, but the 2 leads had phenomenal chemistry, and I enjoyed it. This show, I am questioning the male lead. First of all, I don't really think the male lead is that captivating. I mean, it might take a few more episodes to judge. This is really early on, but so far he does really nothing for me. I don't think he brings any form of energy into the role. Like, no offense to the actor, I'm not really interested right now. The female lead, I know she's a good actress, but I'm kind of on her character as well. It's not really being sold to me. The only character really that I find interesting is the villain, and that's probably not good the first 2 episodes in, but that's kind of a wait and see. Another new K-drama that I picked up is Twinkling Watermelon. This one has really great family dynamics off the bat. I've only watched 1 episode, and it was very surprising. I didn't read any of the synopsis for the show. I wanted to go in completely blind, and I was really surprised to find that the central story is basically focused on a family of deaf members. So there's only one member of the family that doesn't have a hearing impairment, and the rest of the family is deaf, and a lot of the show is done with sign language, which I find really refreshing. There's a really great dynamic that was showcased in the first episode as well between like the male lead character, who I think is maybe 12 at the time of the pilot, but I think as you go down the episodes he'll be aged up more. But he, as a kid, has this really great friendship with a music shop owner, and that music shop owner ends up teaching him guitar, and they kind of form this really cute friendship, and I thought it was really moving to see him kind of pass on his love of music and his passion, especially towards guitar, towards this young boy. So it was actually really surprising. I was kind of choked up, and I'm going to check that one out more. I know there's been more episodes that have released since, and it's currently gotten a lot of buzz, especially on Twitter. I've noticed a lot, but I'm only at one episode in, but so far so good. So that's for my current watches. And finally, for new watches, first there is A Good Day to Be a Dog. Now, I have not read this famous webtoon that this K-drama is based off of, but I'm going to check it out. The dog that they use in the show looks absolutely adorable. I'm not too sure about the leads yet. Neither one of them are really drawing my interest, but the show itself could be super cute, so I'm definitely going to check it out. The second has not been released yet. It is called My Demon, and it stars Song Kang, who I absolutely adore. I want him to finally get a K-drama that really showcases his talents. I think he is really good. Yes, I am also biased because I think he's beautiful as well. Never mind that. But I want him to get a K-drama that is a huge hit. I feel like he gets knocked down a lot because of the red flag that his character was in Nevertheless. And unfortunately, forecasting Love and Weather was not the show that I thought would be his breakout. That show had a lot of problems, unfortunately, and I feel like it kind of left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. That was a show that I was really looking forward to watching, and the actual way it played out was deeply unsatisfying. They had such a great caliber of actors in it. The cast was great. I was fully in it, but whew, the writing for that show, I don't know. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to My Dearest. It seems like it's going to be another like modern romance fantasy element, and it's going to involve a fake dating trope, fake marriage trope, which are two tropes that I really enjoy when they're done really well, so I'm looking forward to that. And as well, My Dearest Part 2 has just been released. I have not watched Part 1, but that is one that I really want to get into. I'm not the biggest fan of historical romances, but I've heard such great reviews about My Dearest in general that I want to check it out anyways. And then finally, there is a K movie that I want to check out, which is Ballerina, which has been basically talked about everywhere, which looks really dark and really sleek, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I believe I'm going to be doing an episode podcast review just dedicated to that, as far as things to look forward to. So that is my K-drama roundup for October 2023, November 2023. Just everything that I'm watching. There's going to be a lot more episodes coming down the pipeline. There's a lot of good stuff that are currently airing right now, and definitely on the C-drama side, I got a lot to talk about. But until then, thank you for listening. If you're listening via Spotify, if you're watching on YouTube, I appreciate you. On both platforms, please share with anyone that is into K-dramas, C-dramas. Just share if you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you so much. See you in the next one.